to me and to others in the family, it was implausible that she would have wanted life-sustaining treatment if this is what her life was going to look like. So my aunt was like, you know, very private, very modest, you know, and we could see like this looks like she's going to be fully dependent on carers for her personal intimate care for the rest of her life. You know, she was prudish really. Um, this, you know, she would just have experienced this as a total violation. I had no doubt about that, and other family members who knew her better than me historically had no doubt about that. When she lived, you know, she lived with my granny, her mother, who herself had carers going in 4 times a day, and she hated that. She hated them even being in the house, and she wasn't even a recipient of the care. She was very proud, very private, didn't like anyone knowing her business or her problems that she was having. Um, you know, she'd had financial difficulties and wouldn't entertain us intervening to help with that. She'll do it her way. So, you know, I just think it seemed so clear that she'd be mortified to have her whole life and all her affairs managed by other people. Um, she was very independent. She'd do everything her own way. She would not accept help. Was quite set in her ways. I mean, she didn't even really like going for healthcare appointments. And I mean, she had long-term conditions. She needed to be accessing healthcare, and she'd had a few injuries. I mentioned an injury on her leg, and I think she'd had a few like kind of diabetic hypos in the days before her injury, where she should have gone to A&E or at least the GP, but wouldn't. So we knew that, you know, being in the hands of healthcare and social care would be the rest of her life. Absolutely unthinkable, I reckon, to her. She had a very strong faith. She'd go to mass. She'd go. This was her weekly routine. You know, she'd go and visit her mother, my granny's grave. That's you know what her daily activities were, her weekly activities. She wouldn't be able to access them anymore. And even if they were physically accessible, you know, the severity of her brain injury meant that they wouldn't be meaningful. You know, they wouldn't be something that she could engage in and recognize and get any like meaning or comfort from. So like you know, we weren't under any illusions that we can be 100% sure that she wouldn't have wanted interventions. Like she didn't have an advanced decision, you know, none of us did then, although that's changing now. But we knew enough to have to ask the question, like, really, shouldn't we be sort of considering whether interventions to keep this sort of a life going for her as an individual are the right thing? Before that, she was embedded in a Catholic community, a sort of a what I would call an old school Catholic community. You know, older people. She would have been one of the youngest. You know, so from her age up to kind of into their 80s. Um, Absolutely Catholic through and through, culturally, religiously. And, you know, in the course of this process, I've had the chance, you know, you have conversations, don't you? And I've had the chance to say to all of them, and sitting across her hospital bed face to face with them at the wake, which was 2 days and 2 nights in her house, which we do before the burial. You know, what do you like? What do you think? What would you have wanted? What do you think she would have wanted? Everybody, whether they're thinking something differently in their minds, but I don't, they're all very forthright women, usually, you know, thought that absolutely she would not have wanted this. She would not have wanted a life like this. And the right thing to do, the humane thing to do, and the compassionate thing to do is to not keep this going, you know, if you don't have to.